Okay, wow. It is August 2nd, and it is time for Thriving Live on Tuesdays at 2. Here we are. Here we are, um, not yet streaming live, but I am recording. So let me get the streaming live on Facebook going. Let's see, get that rolling. I was in the middle of something just a few minutes ago and lost track of time, and then saw that it was time to get going. So, okay, here we go. Thriving Live. Go live on Facebook Live. I think it's happening. This meeting is being live streamed over on Facebook Live. Okay, so wow. What is happening? What's going on? Hello, hello, and welcome to Thriving Live. It is Tuesday, August 2nd, and I try to get my Thriving Live show going at 2 o'clock every Tuesday, rain or shine, snow or sleet, and from wherever I am, unless there's no internet. And then that's maybe the one time I won't run the show live. Let's see, I also want to just pull up my notes, so I have them handy. Here we go. And oh my gosh, this is episode 20. 20. Wow, this is exciting. I didn't realize that. So yes, it's true. What do you think of that? It's pretty cool, right? Okay, so I'm just copying and pasting that in here, that we're at episode 20, and it is the 2nd of August, 2022. So I always have to, like nowadays, write in the actual month and not just like the number for the month, because some of us who are either currently living in Europe or have lived in Europe sometimes get a little bit mixed up with our dates, because in Europe they always put the day before the month before the year, right? So day, month, year, I think, yeah. And what we obviously in the States tend to do is the month, day, year. And so when we're just doing the numbers, we can get thrown off. And that especially makes a difference when I am doing payroll and I am taking care of my employees and trying to figure out what time period I'm paying them for. So we've all agreed to be writing in our dates long form so that we don't confuse August 2nd with February 2nd or February 8th, right? So anyway, that's an aside. I'm just kind of winging it, babbling here, trying to get myself focused and on on the same page with you all. So here we go. Thriving Live, Tuesday at 2. Here we go. So what I would like to do first, which is what I always like to do first for my shows, as well as for when I'm actually coaching or if I'm running a workshop with people. And that is, if you're new here, if you're not new here, you already know what that is. It is always pleasure first. And what does pleasure mean to me versus what it might mean to other people? Here's the interesting thing about pleasure. People tend to make the automatic assumption that we're talking about sex, like self-pleasure. But I'm not always talking about sex, actually. I am a big fan of self-pleasure, and I have, having been solo and single for, I don't know, 17 years, I got that pretty well taken care of. Developed new skills and discovered new things about myself. And so I am a proponent for self-pleasure. But when I'm speaking of pleasure first, the pleasure first practice, it doesn't always mean that. So what are other forms of pleasure? Well, for me, that takes many, many, many different shapes and expressions. One might be simply lying down and being horizontal for 10 minutes. One might be sitting on my meditation couch and journaling. One form of pleasure might be going for a walk. Another form of pleasure might be having lunch outside in the sunshine so I can absorb some rays. Another form of pleasure might be to go jump in the lake, go jump in the river, something like that, go swimming. Another form of pleasure might be spending some time with a really dear friend or my son or my lover. So these are all different ways of using pleasure first. What I tend to do in my coaching and in my workshops is lead a sort of guided meditative process that just helps really to get us focused and grounded, and present. Because especially in the middle of a day, in the middle of the week, or almost the middle of the week, we're often like going and coming and going pretty rapidly without having time to rest or reset or get focused before we jump into the next thing. So for these shows, as well as in my coaching practice, I almost always go to some form of guided meditation, or at least a sort of awareness scan of our body, my body, internally and externally, noticing what I'm noticing, wherever the noticing happens, whatever there is to notice. So for example, if my air conditioner or fan were blowing a lot of air on me right now, which it's not, but if it were, then I might be more aware of the movement of air and how is it touching my skin than what is present for me on the inside. Excuse me. However, right now, because I'm live on the show and I don't have a script, no matter how often I think to myself, I will write a script and I will always start the show in the same way. I haven't yet done that. And so it's just sort of spontaneous, as it always is. And what I was going to say about that is that right now I feel a little bit of like activity or constriction, not even constriction exactly, but a little like I'm just aware of my heart. My heart inside my chest is like, whoa, something's happening and we're not feeling ready. And so there's some nervousness and anxiety. So I'm just going to take a few breaths and allow my breath to inform my body, and particularly my heart, that everything is okay and that I am perfectly safe and there's nothing to worry about. So please join me if you'd like to take a few long, slow, deep breaths. And what we are, hey Tom, what a sweet treat. This is the first live comment on Facebook I've ever had in the middle of a show. So that's very exciting. Thank you for being here. I'm so psyched. So here we go. We'll take a long, slow, few deep breaths. And the way I like to do that is to take allow the exhale to be longer than the inhale. And I'm just closing some other computer windows because I'm working on some really exciting things and they're very exciting to look at. And so I don't want to be distracted by them while I'm here with you. Okay, I think we have everything set up here. So let's see. Let's breathe together, okay, shall we? So I'm going to inhale on 4 beats. I'll mark them with my fingers and then I'll keep going and get to 10. So that means exhale in 6 beats, okay? I like to inhale through my nose and exhale through my mouth. I'll probably go more than the 3 breaths that I'm inviting you to take. And you're welcome to continue with me as well. And before we begin, just notice on a scale of like 1 to 10, if you were to measure it like with your arms, and this is like a meter of some kind, right? This is 0 and this is 10. So noticing on that scale 0 to 10, where are you in terms of feeling relaxed and present right now, here and now? So automatically, I'm just going to say, it's really about halfway, 5, 6 in that zone of relaxed. So not quite relaxed and not quite anxious. So I'm going to mark that as a 5 in my mind. And now we'll do some breaths. Okay. So you can do this sitting or standing. And I forgot what I was going to say. I'm getting myself, I'm feeling my feet like really attached to the ground right now, like really present like that. And yeah, feeling the gravity in my body, putting the weight into my feet. And so here we go. So inhale in. How are you feeling? Okay, that's about 6 breaths. 5 or 6 breaths. So now if I were to do my little scan, and this is like calm to anxious or relaxed to anxious, and I was at a 5. Now I'm at about, yeah, I'm way closer to calm. Yeah. So what are you noticing? I'm noticing that my breath is slower. I'm definitely calmer. My heart is no longer like doing it's like, oh my God, what are you doing? Here we are, we're not ready. It's just kind of like, yeah, I'm good. We're good. So if you're watching still, feel free to write in, how are you feeling? Are you feeling any different than before we started? And did you rate it from 0 to 10 before we began to 0 to 10 after we began. Calm is down towards 0, like down here, and anxious is up here. So I'm also realizing that my scale is like a little bit weird because it's not really a number if you do it that way. But that's okay. I think you get the gist of it. Anyway, I think you can also see that I am much more chill. And that was simply by taking a few minutes to breathe slowly. Isn't that kind of amazing? It gets me every time, like totally, it's so totally cool. And I love reading about stuff like this, and I am thrilled to discover any articles or interviews or discussions or studies even that talk about how, you know, even surgeons use this technique, you know, like before they go into the operating room, or if they're in the middle of surgery and they run into some kind of problem that shows up. I have talked to surgeons, and I've seen them in interviews as well, where they say what they do is, instead of getting nervous and more anxious and more like, oh my God, we got to really, you know, hurry this up, and maybe make mistakes in their decision-making process because the brain starts doing all kinds of things and the body starts doing all kinds of things in response to the nervousness or the issue or the crisis, right? And instead, they take a few deep breaths. They just pull up their tools for a moment, making sure that the exhale is longer than the inhale. It also works with PTSD and veterans that are like getting really anxious and triggered by something. If they can remember to take a few long, slow, deep breaths, it can totally change everything. It can make the crisis pass without throwing their whole body, their whole state of being into crisis mode, you know, fight or flight or freeze mode. And instead, by breathing, just like the surgeon was saying, gives them the capacity to think more clearly and calmly. And so there's greater choice in what can come to mind through either inspiration or muscle memory or whatever it is. Like, by clearing that space with just a little bit of breath, it makes such a huge difference. So if you didn't know that already, now you know. And yes, I hope you do this a lot more often. Okay, so then if you're still feeling groovy and in a good state there, let's go a little further, shall we? So let's go into you could say a more elevated state, but sometimes I feel funny using phrases like that. That's what I'm going to use for now. So again, like feeling grounded, feeling another visitor live on Facebook. This is my first time having live people on Facebook. This is thrilling. So Tuesdays at 2, come on every time. So the next thing that I want to take you into is we'll do a few more, two or three more breaths, right? The long, slow, deep breaths, which we just did. And then we'll do a long, very slow kind of scan through our body to see where we can discover some sensations that feel good. Usually we're like scanning for discomfort or like knots, or, you know, we notice the muscles or the aches or the pains and stuff. So we give that a lot of attention. What we don't tend to do is give attention to the pleasure, the feelings that of pleasure, the things that feel good, and to extrapolate that into like the way things go, we often don't pay enough attention or much attention to the things that are going well in our lives, like during the day, right? So I'll get to that next, but first let's do this, okay? So if you care to, just listen to your body, like if it needs to move or stretch or jump or wiggle or dance or anything like that, just feel free. There's no like totally set rule about how this needs to be done. I'm standing, and yeah, I'm gonna just stay standing. So I'm going to take a few more deep breaths, and then I'll guide you through the next step, okay? So we're gonna go again, whole count of 10 for a full breath. So 4 in, 6 out, beats that is, in through the nose, out through the mouth. We'll do 3 of those. Here we go. Inhale. Now notice your body. Notice how you're feeling. And now just very slowly imagine allowing this beautiful, loving light energy to move through your body, scanning around and looking for places that feel good. And sometimes this is such a foreign concept for people that they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. All I'm noticing are the aches and pains. We're really looking at discovering where we feel good and how you describe them. So again, allowing that gentle, loving, clear energy slowly moving through your body, looking for places that feel good and just noticing them. Sometimes it's on the inside, sometimes it's on the outside, sometimes it's just the warmth of the air passing over your lips on the exhale as you breathe out of your nose, or the air going in, or the eyelashes on your cheeks, or the coolness of the fan. Interior sensations might be like a little tingling sensation, or a little like, such a relaxed sensation. Sense of ease. So continue allowing that energetic scan to slowly continue down through your body, through your torso, through your hips and pelvic area, down through your arms and wrists and hands, down through your thighs and knees, lower legs, your ankles, your feet, your toes. Where are the sensations that feel good? And what are they like? How would you describe them? For me today, strangely, I'm feeling some like feel good feelings in my elbows. I've never really thought about that before, but they feel kind of like warm, relaxed, and a little bit tingly in a good way. Now, what are you noticing? Once you've located something that feels good in your body or outside of your body, notice like how much space it's taking, and allowing yourself to expand it into occupying more space, more area around the original area. So for my elbows, oh, I can imagine the feeling coming up into my arms, my upper arms, and down into my lower arms. And now I can feel I'm going to keep increasing the amount of space that the sensation takes up. So it's all the way up to my shoulders and down to my fingertips now. See if I can move it, or not move it, but expand it into my whole torso. With each breath, you can imagine it getting bigger and bigger. Now I have it taking up space all the way up to beyond the top of my head and past my butt, down towards my thighs, towards my knees. How's it going for you? So you can just keep expanding it. Keep expanding it. See how it allows you to feel. See if you can even expand it beyond the confines of your body, of your skin, and expand it beyond to fill the sort of area, the range around you. You can even expand it to fill the room if you want to. Now just stay in this pleasure field, this field of pleasure, the sensation that feels good. And absorb it, melt into it. Really enjoy it. And now you can sort of bring it back in to inside your body, inside your heart space. It can return all the way back down to where it originated if you want to, or you can just keep it in the heart space and let it be that energy that helps you navigate your day. Okay, so what are you noticing now? I feel even more relaxed than before. I feel way better and really groovy, as Tom said earlier in the Facebook chat. And so, yes, I totally encourage you to take at least the pleasure first practice of just taking some deep breaths. Deep breaths can be the pleasure practice. The locating one place that feels good and giving it some attention and even expanding it can be the pleasure practice for the day, right? What a cool thing to do before you attempt to do anything that might be stressful or anything you really don't want to be doing. Like taxes, for example, or going to the Department of Motor Vehicles, or I don't know, going to the dentist. What a great way to proceed going to the dentist, and actually even keeping that going throughout the visit. That would be a great fun experiment. Of course, I love experiments. So the other thing I wanted to say, extrapolating that idea of using the pleasure first practice, well, not just the practice of the pleasure first practice, but the idea of putting your attention on the things that are going right because we're always paying attention to all the things that are not going right. And those are the things we tend to talk about. Those are the things we tend to feel and allow to kind of ruin our day, like the mood, the after, the aftertaste of an experience that didn't feel great or didn't go well, things like that. What's so fascinating and brilliant, and I really encourage you to try this and experiment, give it some time, is notice all the things that are going right. So for example, yesterday, I drove, well, I didn't do the driving, but I went with with my assistant and my lover to the airport. And I had a lot of things that I needed to get done, and I didn't want to not go. I didn't want to stay home and do the things and not go and see Sophia off to Germany. So I brought my computer and my phone, and I was able to work the whole trip down and still engage in conversation, because some of the work was just, it could allow for that. And then I also could finish up. I took some time driving and stopped for dinner, and then I continued. And I had a grant to get in by midnight. And everything went super well. Like, we got to the airport on time. Sophia got, through security easily and speedily. And our trip home was pretty easy. And so I was saying to my lover, Dan, later, is like, how cool is it that everything went so perfectly well on our trip to and from Newark? And in addition to that, I was able to continue working in the car on my media, on my computer, and sometimes logging into my phone and using the internet that way so I could access other files that I needed. And I was able to submit the grant within 2 minutes of the final deadline at midnight. And I was celebrating the fact that my tech didn't fail. Like, the tech stayed, like, really, it all worked. So I was celebrating it all worked. Our trip worked, the drive worked out, the tech worked for me, the words came to me, the images came to me, the numbers I needed came in, I was able to find them and put them together just as I needed. And so I've certainly had the experience, I wonder if you have too, where when there's a really intense and task to be done, and especially one that has a tight, hard deadline, like it has to be submitted by midnight or else, or before midnight, otherwise, you're not even in the running. How often does it happen where everything goes wrong? Like the battery fails, or you lose the password, or this, or the thing crashes, or the site crashes, or all the things, right? Like all the things that can go wrong. And just as much so, everything can go right. So putting the attention on the things that are going right, actually, I think, and quantum physics is saying this, that where we put our attention and energy, it grows. So the more that's going right, and we're acknowledging that, just like the more that we're feeling good and noticing where we feel good, the more good we can feel, and the more things go well. So if you haven't already been playing with that, I really encourage you to do it, because it's a lot of fun. And if you do so, please come back and tell me how it goes, because I want to hear about it. I find it really fun. What are some other things that happened yesterday? I saw a fox in the yard with a red squirrel in its mouth. That was kind of fun. I saw 2 cardinals. I saw hummingbirds. I don't know. I saw a whole bunch of good things yesterday, and all these other things happened as well. So it just, like I said, it sort of snowballs. Like, good things happen when we're noticing the good things that are happening and acknowledging them. And you don't even really have to be grateful for them, but it doesn't hurt, right? It definitely kind of helps to be grateful for them. But like with anything, the noticing is the first step to making change. So that was my main topic for today, about pleasure. What does pleasure mean? So again, what is pleasure for you? Is it a walk? Is it riding horses? Is it taking a bicycle ride? Is it taking a nap? Is it sitting and meditating? Is it doing yoga? Is it journaling? Is it painting? Is it, you know, some long, slow, deep breaths? And how can we find, you know, different sized versions, right? So if you only have like 5 minutes, we saw together how effective it was to take just like 3 to 6 long, slow, deep breaths, right? Then we did the expansion, like we found some pleasure in our body, a sensation, and we expanded that. And that took a little bit longer and may have even given more pleasure, right? And then there could be the sitting on the meditation couch and just staring off into space for 10 minutes. I love taking these like 6 or 7 minute naps, which aren't really naps, but I use sort of the self-hypnosis approach, which allows me to get like a really restful, relaxed, and rejuvenating rest in that short period of time without falling asleep entirely, without waking up groggy and feeling like all confused and foggy. Like, no, actually my lover Dan taught me this approach, and so it's really great. I love it, especially if I'm kind of wiped out during the day or in the middle of the day, and I know I need to like be back in action very soon. So I often will take the, you know, 6 or 7 minutes to just go into that super relaxed, rejuvenated rest state. And every time I'm able to wake up or get up and feel clear-headed and awake and ready to meet whatever it is that I'm to do next, you know? So those are a few of my couple of my topics and my tools. I'd love to hear what pleasure practices you have, the short ones, medium ones, longer ones. I'd also love to hear what wins or insights or learnings you have from this, from what I shared today. And if you have any questions, please like put them in the Facebook. And thanks for joining. I am so excited. Tom wrote, off to my meeting and very relaxed. Yay! I'm so excited. Thanks for joining me, Tom. And please, anyone, if you would like to come on and be in the Zoom room with me for these Tuesdays at 2 sessions, you just go and register at bit.ly/thriving live. So it's bit.ly/thriving live, all one word. That will get you into the Zoom room. So we could actually talk to each other. I could see your faces, and I could even give you some spot coaching if you needed it, or, you know, answer questions live. So that's what Thriving Live is all about. We're talking about different things that help move us beyond whatever things have been limiting us, so so that we can be thriving in whatever it is we're doing. And thanks so much for joining me today. Episode 20 of Thriving Live, and have an awesome day. I can't wait to see you again. Please let me know how things go with any things that you've experimented with today or this week, or from today's lesson is what I mean to say. Anyway, I love you. Thanks for being here. Mwah. Ciao.